this woman come up to me and was like, "Can I hug you?" And I was like, "Sure." And she was like, "No, because," and then she just started bawling. And she was like, "I went through something similar, and it's amazing how you chose to do something creative with that pain."
What up, Doe? Black Fridays family. Welcome back to another installment of the Black Fridays podcast. Today, I have another very special guest, an up-and-coming author in the city of Detroit, Miss Alicia Jenkins. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Thank you for stopping by the podcast, and I always give my guests a chance to introduce themselves. So how would you describe Alicia to the good folks that's watching and listening?
Good question. So I'm Alicia Jenkins. I am a wife first, God-fearing, of course. And then I'm a mother of 3, 2.5, if you will. And I have 2 sons living at home with me, Isaiah and Zachary. And then I am an author, a new author. That is my title. I'm mostly a stay-at-home mom first, and then an author on my downtime for my passion projects.
Absolutely. And how did you get into writing? Because a little bit of background, me and Alicia graduated from high school together, so we go way back, but I don't think there was ever a time that I recall where you were like into being a creative or writing or author or anything like that. So when did that kind of start for you? Or is that something that you always kind of been passionate about but kept tucked away?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. I've actually always wrote. I started off writing a lot of poetry. I started writing, honestly, when I was like in elementary school. Like I used to have those lined paper notebooks full of poetry. And I actually still have a few at home. I just looked at them in my garage not too long ago. But I started writing a long time ago. I probably was about 7 or 8 when I started writing poetry, like full blown, like snap your fingers poetry, right? But then in like maybe high school, you can even ask like one of my friends, Kiera Finley, you probably remember her. She asked me not too long ago about one of these books that I started when I was in high school, and she read it, and I never finished it. It was just something that I just needed to do because I used to read a lot, like novels day by day. And so I started writing back then, and I kind of paused because life. Right. I got into corporate world after college. I went to Jackson State. So in about 2013, I started working at Rocket Mortgage, and then life just kind of took a pause. So it was just more focused on just making money, doing some bigger things, starting a career, whatever that looks like at the time, and then just becoming an adult. Right. Like, so that's when I started writing. So again, I took a pause then, but then fast forward to 2020 when the pandemic started. But right before then, I was pregnant. I was pregnant with my first son, Isaac. His name was Isaac Zeus Jenkins, and he's no longer with us. He passed away. He only lived a few hours. So at that time, I started just asking why, right? Like, that's the question you ask God, like, what happened? What? I did all the things I was supposed to do. What happened? And I started going to therapy, of course, to get through that, because I've never actually been through that kind of grief, right? And then she was like, maybe you should get back into writing, because I talked to her about it. Maybe you should get back into writing. And I was like, okay. So I started writing again, poetry mostly. And then I started writing some like just diaries to myself, kind of. And one day I was, upset again about it, grieving again. And I'm like, God, why? He was like, it's bigger than you. I had no idea what that meant at the time. And I had this super vivid dream, and you hearing it first. Not very many people know this. But I had this super vivid dream of what Isaac's life was, from his birth all the way to like having a career. And it was so vivid. It woke me up. I was in tears. And then I was like, I think I need to write this down. And at that time I wrote it as like a poem, but then I just sat on it. Because again, life. By this time, I'm now pregnant again. I'm actually pregnant with my second, because Isaiah was born then. So I had babies after that, right? And while I was still working, I was in grad school. So it just took a pause. grieving, all of that. It just took a backseat because life still happens, right? So I sat on it a while. And then eventually I was like, I read it again one day randomly. And I was like, this will actually be a good book. But I don't know what that would look like. So I actually took all of my poetry.
Oh,
my bad.
Tearing up the room.
My bad. I actually took all of my poetry and put it into a poetry book. And then I made the cover on Canva, and then I did nothing with it. And then I came back to it. I read again. I was like, I don't think this is what it needs to be. So prayed again. And then in weird ways, God just shows you what you need to do. My kids are super avid readers and learners, right? And that's all I do is read books to them all day. So I read the poem again and then put it into a story. But the way the poem ended, I was like, that's not how this book needs to go. So I turned it into this short story for kids. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to do something with it. And then I didn't. I sat on it because I was still working. I was still in grad school, and now I got 2 under 2. So I just sat on it a while, and then the amazing opportunity, which is amazing now but devastating then, which was Rocket Mortgage after 10 years was like, hey, we need to downsize. So we're offering optional buyouts, and I was like, they gave us 5 days to make a decision, and I was like, do I want to do this? Like, what do I do? Like, should I take this opportunity? So it took a lot of praying to God, a lot of talking with my husband, a lot of writing down budgets and finances. And then I was just like, why not? I get time with my kids, and then I can just work on the things that I want to do, right? So I made a decision in 3 of 5 days. I submitted my papers, and I was like, I'm out because I got a lot of PTO. So bye. And that's when I gave myself some time to just sit down and figure out what I wanted to do. So I had this big list of all of these passion projects that I continue to just put on a back burner because of life. Because you make all of this money, you get all these promotions, and then you just let it sit. And then I was like, I'm doing it. And so the first thing I was like, I just want some passive income. So I'm gonna put this book out. I feel like it is going to help people. So let me put this book out. I did it. My goal was to put the book out on Isaac's birthday, which is January 31st. And I did that. And that was the story.
Very nice. Very nice. And I have some follow-up questions for you regarding that. But we're going to switch over to my favorite part of Black Fridays, which is Freestyle Friday. So you're talking about you're a poet, and we're going to need to hear some. You have to give us 8 bars. You're going to have to give something. You got a quick poem you might be able to share with us?
Yeah, I'm not very good at freestyling. So I'm going to pull up the freestyle.
Okay.
I'm going to pull up the poem that I wrote.
We'll take that.
And this is the first time, like literally 2 to 3 people ever heard this poem.
Okay.
So if I cry, sorry in advance.
For sure. It's all good.
All right, this is the poem I was telling you I wrote after I had the dream, and I put it into a poem. Okay. It's called I See You. I see you sitting on the top step of 2, only 2 years old, with those big puppy dog eyes looking up at me. Eyes almost black, but deep brown when the sun peeks from behind the clouds. The curliest black fro hawk with the crispiest line like your dad used to wear. Skin so brown with the dust of glistening honey. Tags just popped off of that blue Nike jogging suit with the yellow words. Let's not forget the all red Chucks that your dad insisted on getting you. He's going to be pissed at the ice cream stain that was too fast for mommy to catch. The next morning, I'm outside of your 5th grade classroom door. I see you. I'm watching you as you, the cool nerd, raise your hand to answer the teacher's question. While your classmates laugh at your witty but correct answer. Of course, you had to follow it up with that smart aleck comment, butthole. I smirk and shake my head, seeing me and you. Then in just a blink, we're standing in front of your high school in my alma mater, Cass Tech. I see you. With the same curly fro hawk, but now I'm looking up into those big, beautiful eyes. The athletic physique of a 21-year-old ball player at only 16. You grab me in a half embrace and throw up the peace sign to your team as we walk towards my Jeep. Where has the time gone? I turn back around and start running into the doors of a stadium. We have to hurry and make it before you go on stage. We find seats in the reserve section just as you're walking up to the podium. I see you. I chuckle inwardly at that weird hat that they make graduates wear when you get your PhD. I remember us in the kitchen last night joking about it in the church choir robe. I start to float away. It's like I'm hovering over you, but you can't see me. I see you. You're crying beside your dad and I's caskets together. When did we get so old? I caress your dimpled cheek, then the worry lines that has embedded themselves in your forehead. I guess you decided to graduate the Frohawk to a now graying shortcut. You grab your wife and your children's hands as they close the caskets, only for me to glance inside the two caskets turned one, and I see you.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Give you some
goodness.
Give you some snaps on the podcast.
Okay, I should have brought this too. I know better than that. Okay.
Very beautiful poem. Thank you. You're only the second person to do some form of poetry on the podcast. So shout out to you. You are a part of a very exclusive company so far. So I will move along in terms of, so you mentioned the story in terms of your journey with motherhood and your first son that was born, and then ultimately losing him. And now you have this series where you have an opportunity to be able to imagine what his life would be like and the different adventures that he would be able to have with his family and things like that. So I'm assuming that Isaac Can Do It is the book that you have now currently. And so before I go into asking more questions about that, can you tell us about the book and the process of you writing the book and actually getting it published?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yes, the very first thing again was putting the words on paper, right? So again, I turned that poem into a children's book story. That was the first step. And then I already had this vision of what Isaac was. Like, I had the dream. So I literally outlined exactly what I wanted his character to look like in the book. So that was the first thing I did. Not everyone does that, but that's the first thing I did. So I wrote the children's book page by page. I outlined what each page will look like. And then after that, I reached out to a freelancer on Fiverr. She's actually from Pakistan. I reached out to a few people, but I did a lot of research and she had some really amazing reviews. So I reached out to her and asked her what she could do for me, right? So we negotiated a price for my book and the artwork for it. And that was in 2021. So I had my first kid already and I was pregnant with the second. And so I just let it sit after that for a little bit. And then I moved forward to doing my YouTube research, YouTube University. Mm-hmm. I was on there heavy, trying to figure out how to like make it work where I didn't have to have so many hands in it. Like, I didn't have the time to package up a book and send out a book and print out the book. And I didn't have the time to do that at that time, right? So I decided to go through Amazon KDP. And again, YouTube University helped me a lot with that, because the hardest part for Amazon is actually the formatting. And so I looked up some people on YouTube to show me how to properly format it, what exactly to do, what to search for on Amazon, what's the best sizing options and everything. So I did that. I did a lot of work on Canva. So after I researched it, moved it over to Canva, I then decided it was time to upload it to Amazon. So I get to Amazon and they're like, your book isn't long enough. So for a children's book, your book has to be 24 pages. So at that time, it was only like 14 pages. And
24 pages minimum.
Minimum.
Okay.
For a children's book. And I was like, which is paperback, right? Mm. So I was like, yo, I gotta stretch this book. So then I went to YouTube University again, and someone showed me how to split my images into 2 pages. So that was my second step. I went in there and then I reformatted, which takes the longest time. So I went to Canva, resized it, split the images into 2 pages, split the words into multiple pages, and then I finally had my 24 pages. And then I uploaded it to Amazon, and then I just let it sit because I was scared to hit publish. So then I was like, no, the goal is to get it out on Isaac's birthday, which is January 31st. So by January 2nd, I had it all done. I had the illustrations corrected. Actually, I had to reach back out to this illustrator after 2 years to be like, hey, I saw something wrong. Can you fix it after 2 years? Because I let it sit. So that was all on me. And she graciously updated it. I was like, perfect, because I'll be using you in the future. So it all worked out. She corrected it. And then I said it was time. So then I finally was like, okay, if it got to be out on January 31st, then I need to hit publish, because Amazon actually tells you that you need to, it takes 72 hours for them to approve it before published to the world. So I was like, okay, I got to do this. So end of January, I finally pressed the publish button, and then I was like, okay, great, it's time. And the very first way I decided to do it was through my own personal social media. I've come across a lot of amazing people in my life, and I have a okay following already on both my Instagram and Facebook. So that was my first way to do it. So I had the story, I told the world about it, and then I was like, it's ready. Here, click this button on Amazon, and that was it.
Love it. Love it. And what has it been like promoting and pushing the book? Like I said, I know you have your own social media, but from what I've seen, obviously you've been going pretty hard just in terms of putting yourself in position to be able to get the book in front of more people. But what has that journey been like? Because a lot of people go through like the Amazon process or have heard about it, but it's one thing to have it accessible there, and then also to actually go and market the book, because it could be there, but it's so many other books on Amazon. People are not just going to find it out of thin air. So like, how have you taking the approach to making sure that you market it to the best of your ability?
Yep, absolutely. So after, a lot of it was first social media, because again, once you put it out into the people you know, they share it to the people they know, then they share it to the people they know. So it expanded that way first. But then once it actually got into people's hands, people saw that it was actually good, right? Like they was like, oh, she wrote a book, that's amazing. But then sometimes it's not that good. So people was actually, I think people are a little shocked that it was that good.
Like they wouldn't have said nothing.
They was like, oh, shoot. I mean, I'm going to support you, but is it good though? So they was like, oh, it's good. And so I had a lot of people reach out. And then from there, like I said, social media was the first big stretch to outside of even my social media pages. Because then people made posts like, I need Black authors. Yeah. Does anybody know a Black author? So people were tagging me on these random posts from people I've never seen a day in my life. And then that's where it started. But actually prior to, I decided that it was time for me to actually sell some physical books, because I wanted to get my signature out there. I wanted to meet some faces. I wanted to show people, like connect with people. So I created my own thing in the month of February, of course, Black History Month. So I was like, every week I'm going to do something as far as this book is concerned. So I reached out to the people I know that own businesses, and we bartered, right? So, hey, I can get more people into your business if I can just sit there and sell my books. Mm-hmm. So the first group was Clean and Diamonds Boutique in Fairlane. Yep. So I had my first signing there, and it was amazing. I had people outside in the mall just come in and was like, hey, I see some balloons. What y'all doing in here? And so they came in. It's Girl Scouts signing books. And that was another connection, right? And then it moved into So Unfair Beauty Bar on West McNichols. And then I had random people getting their hair done. I was like, oh, you wrote a book? That's nice. So that was another connection. And then I had my really big one in the month of February, which was in the library, Detroit Library on Grand River, where all the kiddos came out. It was so much fun. They sat around me. They had little colorful mats, and they had little chairs, and I read the book to them. I did sign-ins. We took pictures, and they did some coloring activities, and it was amazing. And then my final one for that month was Commonwealth Development Academy on West Davison. And sorry.
All good.
On West Davison. And that is where they already had a Black History Month program in effect. So I reached so many people then too. And it was so crazy at that time, honestly. That one in particular stands out because I had women coming up to me because I actually tell the story. I'm not telling Isaac's story doesn't make me sad. It makes me happy. It makes me want to help other people who have gone through the things that I went through. And this again at Commonwealth stood out to me because I had this woman come up to me and was like, "Can I hug you?" And I was like, "Sure." And she was like, "No, because," and then she just started bawling. And she was like, "I went through something similar, and it's amazing how you chose to do something creative with that pain." And I was like, exactly that. Right. So that was that. And then from there, again, it was just the people tagging me in random posts. Like I went to DPSCD event. I got invited to that by somebody just tagging me in the post. And that was my big first book purchase. They purchased my books in bulk for DPS schools. Dope. And it was called Parents Are Heroes. And they were trying to up the children's home libraries. That was their whole goal. So all they wanted were Black authors because, of course, these kids need representation, right? They need somebody who looked like them. And that was a really big thing for me as a mom of Black boys, too. There weren't enough Black boys on covers, right? So yeah, so they bought my book. I met a lot of amazing Black authors there. That was amazing. And then fast forward to like partnering with local schools. David West Academy in Redford, Michigan. That was my second bulk order of books where blessings just started coming. It just got bigger than I ever imagined. Honestly, it really did. I don't know what I expected when I put the book out, but it just flourished way more than I could have ever imagined. So again, I had this program with David West Academy, and I spoke to kindergarten. I spoke to their first graders, their second graders, and their third graders. We connected. They came to me. They were yelling affirmations at me like, "Oh, I can do it." And it was just kind of amazing. And here I am at the end of this, like in tears again. Not because of the grief anymore. Now it's because it's helping so many people, like from the kids to like having like self-confidence issues to people who go through grief. We all got to go through grief. Like, so it was a way for me to promote those children and then just motivate the people who go through grief. So
like you had said before, you were sitting on this opportunity in different time periods throughout your life, but then once you started to kind of get out of your own way, you kind of see how things come in like overflow and in abundance in terms of different opportunities you've been able to get to have you had a school system and then a school do two separate buyouts for you, which is completely amazing. 2 different school districts. I mean, I don't think a lot of people have the opportunity to say that often.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so big, like, but that's where we come in contact with so many different people in our lives. It's important to keep those networks and keep those opportunities and just be you and be a good person, right? Because these people wouldn't have reached out and even tried to buy the book if they didn't know me as a person first, right? Like, so it was just all around amazing opportunities and just amazing people to connect with.
Dope. And is there anything that stands out to you in addition to your journey thus far, being a full-fledged Black author?
Yeah. The biggest part for me is just being able to work when I want to. Honestly, I mean, that's the beauty of entrepreneurship, but this is literally that. Like, I decide when I feel like going to a pop-up. If I want to go to a pop-up one month, if I don't want to do anything that month, it's amazing. If I sell way more than books than I decided to the prior month, then maybe I won't do nothing the following month. Like, it's just kind of amazing to be able, and a lot of women with kids don't have the opportunity to stay home anymore.
Right.
So like, my kids are 1 and 2. So to have this opportunity to just full blown teach my kids, and listen, it's not easy being at home with these kids, but it's so worth it. I literally see my kids growing in front of my eyes, and I get to see that all day long. And I think that's the biggest thing for me.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's beautiful. And are there any, in terms of what do you kind of see on the horizon, do you want to continue to do more pop-ups? Do you want to like work with certain retailers? Are you trying to do a series in terms of the Adventures of Isaac? What is that looking like for you?
Yeah, it's a great question. Initially, it was going to be one and done. Let me get this out my brain and on paper.
Yeah.
But then once again, people start reading the book. They like, you need more. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll write more. So I'm actually in the process of writing my second. I think I'm deciding to continue his journey just a little bit. So I'm going to make this into a short series.
Okay.
I'm in the process of writing the second one right now. The second one is going to be helping children get through their emotions, because that's really big. So that is my second piece. And then I do also have a journal I plan on writing. It's called Hello Beautiful. And that is another way for people to get their emotions on paper, right? So I have that.
Did that come before or after the book?
It came after the book, actually directly after.
Okay.
Because remember, I was telling you that I started writing again. So when I started writing again, I used to have to write these affirmations for myself, literally on the top of these pages in a book. So I decided to write an affirmation on each page in the journal for other people to already have in front of them. So that was the concept behind that journal. So it was kind of like a twofold. Like I did a couple pop-ups for Mother's Day, and that was like the twofold for that. Like, oh, you can buy for your kid, but this is for you though. So that was that. But in the future, I do plan to, again, show up at least once a month for my book in particular. So the next upcoming one that I have is a girls market in downtown Detroit on July 21st. It's a really big event. I didn't realize it was so big, but I think about 2,500 people are registered to attend. So that's my next one. And then after that, I plan to be at the Easter market pop-ups and the summer market ones on Cadillac in August. So I think my initial goal kind of took a back burner, and now it just has to expand because people need to see more and do more. So the second book I plan to have finished before the next school year so that it can be ready for the school year. Yeah.
Any other creatives that might be listening to this right now, I'm curious, what's your writing process? Because you mentioned that you write a lot in general, but do you write when inspiration hits you? Do you kind of like sit down and say, hey, once a week, I give me a glass of wine, I sit down and I write? Or how does that work for you?
Yeah, it's all over the place. I literally write when it comes to me. But that's the beauty of having these cell phones in our hand. We actually need to put them to use better than we do.
So I was going to ask, is it traditional pen and paper for you, or do you write wherever?
Sometimes.
Okay.
So I have a full-blown office at my house, right? When my kids go to sleep, that I go in there and I sit there and do what I need to do. Sometimes that's writing. Sometimes that's just trying to brand my new business, right? But most of the time, I'm out and about and something sparks it, and then I write a quick note. And then I transfer it because these phones not forever. I drop my phone in the water every other month. So I transfer it sometimes onto paper and sometimes just into my OneNote because that's everywhere too. So no. Now, I think a lot of times though, just like most artists and creatives, they write when the pain hits them a lot of times. I mean, like rappers especially, they got it out the dirt, so they wrote about it, right? So me, just like any grief, it hits you randomly, right? So like sometimes grief and just like motivation in general, right? So like if I'm feeling something at that moment, I will literally stop what I'm doing and go in a quiet space really quick, right? I might just, if my kids around me, because, they busy and loud. If my kids around, I might have pop in the bathroom for 2 minutes, like just write this down really fast. And that's just how my brain works. I have to get it out of my head or I'm going to forget it. And that's what I do.
And what have you learned about business? Because I know you say you're working on developing your branding and your business from these different opportunities you've been getting. What have you learned about business throughout your process, throughout your authoring process and promoting the book and all those good things?
Yeah, I definitely learned that it's not as easy as it looks. It is not just you plan to do it so it happens. You literally gotta do the work. And I didn't realize, one, that this will be a full-blown business. I just thought it was going to be a thing, and then that was it. Just some passive income, because my main goal is passive income. Right. Multiple streams of passive income.
Let's not get it twisted.
Okay, that's my main goal. I don't want to work for anybody.
Right.
So, but I don't want to do a whole bunch of work either. But so that is the biggest thing I learned. You just got to put in the work. So, and keep the network, keep those connections that you actually get through in your life, because that is a really hard thing for me. I connect with so many people and I love people and people love me, but we just fall out of contact for no reason. We don't fall out. We just stop talking. And
called being an adult.
Life just happens, right? And so I fall out of contact with so many amazing people, but now I am very intentional about keeping those contacts too, because sometimes it's needed to move your business along. So, yeah.
And you don't never want to be that person hitting up people only when you need something.
Only when you need something, right?
We all know somebody like that.
We all know somebody like that. And we definitely don't want them problems.
Exactly. Exactly. So, Alicia, appreciate you stopping by the podcast and sharing your story and your journey thus far. It truly is a beauty of triumph in terms of the grief that you currently experiencing, and then being able to actually motivate that to turn into something creative that you've been sitting on, but actually got into motion. So where can the people find you? They want to buy a book, if they want you to pull up on their kids and read to them, if they want to be able to follow your journey, what's all your handles, website, all that type of stuff?
Absolutely. Thank you. So first things first, Isaac Can Do It is available right now just on Amazon. So you could just search by Isaac Can Do It or my full name, Alicia L. Jenkins. My Instagram is Mrs.Alicia L. Jenkins. And then my Facebook is the same, Alicia L. Jenkins. And then if you want to partner or to just connect for any reason, my email address is author.alicialjenkins@gmail.com.
See, now I got to ask you, what does the L stand for?
No. Nope, not doing that. Not doing that. No, my middle name is Lakaya.
Oh, okay. What's wrong with that?
Nothing is wrong with middle name. It's just like Alicia Lakaya Jenkins.
It works.
It works. It is. It's my name.
Yeah.
But if there is somebody named like Alicia Jenkins out there, she's a Caucasian lady. And I was like, let's not get this mixed up. Yeah. It's Alicia L. Jenkins.
That's where Lakaya is very important. That's where it's very important.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for sharing your middle name with us as well.
Oh, God.
So we don't get it twisted. But once again, appreciate you stopping by the podcast. Everybody listening and watching, we're going to tap in with y'all soon. Peace.